Hello, everyone. I'm back. um, doing another one of the Kim Cran's Wild Unknown Archetype deck journeys here. And I want to thank you all for joining me in this. I don't know how short I'll be able to keep it. I'm going to try to keep it as quick as possible. And I want to thank you for being here, for being open to these perceptions or these messages, for bringing your light, your love. Truly grateful for that. But I don't want to take up a lot of time. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So actually, first I want to say, I could do readings on people, places, and things. I could say, you know, person A and person B are fighting with each other, and person C is the little devil in between the two, stirring up the mix. But in my experience, readings like that can create self-doubt. They can create a sort of paranoia, right? Where we begin to doubt our surroundings and the people, places, things in it. And so I try to keep away from that and really just describe the energies. So in this reading, I kind of came up with a term that is just made up. Okay, it's just a made up term that can be used as an identifier for some of the energies in this reading. And I'll get into that. But to begin, I have here an orphan, right? Someone who was, let's say, abandoned in one way or another, or who perhaps beyond their control. And I really feel like this was something that stemmed from childhood, right? Or from a time where you were not able to, this orphan was not able to really make decisions for themselves to an extent, right? So I'll use my back as an example. When I broke my back, there was a certain period of time where, yes, I could think rationally, right? I could speak rationally, but there were just certain things that I could not do for myself. Kind of like when we're a child, right? We can have our thoughts and our perceptions as we try to make sense of the world around us. But there are just certain things that at that age we cannot do for ourselves. And so this is someone who was in a position where they were perhaps ostracized or abandoned in some way, or heck, it could have even been someone, who was kidnapped and who broke free. So we have here this orphan, and there were times when this orphan, if they did not behave or speak or look or think or make decisions that were expected of them, then they were judged very harshly. And their sense of security, their sense of purpose was buried under this judgment, right? And we also have the energy of the offering. And it really gives me this sense of an extreme punishment, right? That came about an extreme judgment where I try to think of things from my own experience. So give me a moment. Okay. So I'll give you an example from my childhood. This was a long time ago. Um, I'm the oldest of my siblings, and when my first little sister was born, I thought she was the absolute most beautiful thing on the face of this earth. I think it might have been the first time I had really seen a live baby, right? Up front in person, and she was all ours. It was like that real live, living baby doll type of experience for me. And I was only about 5 years old. And there was one day where we were in the car, and back then we did not have to use um, car seats. They had not yet become common practice or even law at that time. And my stepmother was holding my little sister over her shoulder in the front seat, and I was in the back seat, and my father was driving. And my little sister had on this beautiful pale, like pastel pink dress, and it had all these little ruffles and lace around the armbands and that sort of thing. And I was mesmerized by her this day. And I leaned forward just to touch her, just to softly touch her and to feel her skin, to feel the lace that was around her little arms, and just was admiring how beautiful and how fragile she was. And my stepmother, um, who had really only been around for, not even 2 years, came into a family where I was the only granddaughter, right? I was that firstborn little girl in the family. And of course, they had other grandchildren, but they were boys. And I was the first girl. And so there was not a whole lot of competition for me, right? If I wanted that pretty little dress, then I got the pretty little dress. If I wanted that new baby doll, then my grandparents would, get me the new baby doll. I mean, it's just one of those things. They had one little girl grandchild. And so that one little girl grandchild got, what she wanted. And then comes my sister, right? And for my stepmother, this, I believe, brought in an element of competition for her own child. And so that day in the car, when I reached over to admire my little sister and touch the lace on her dress and her skin, my stepmother immediately snapped at me and scolded me. And I could not understand why, and neither could my father. And so she explained to him that I had just reached over to pinch my little sister, like I was trying to do her harm. So now I'm the bad little girl, right? So now I'm being punished in a way that would be extreme to some. right? So that my stepmother can feel validated, I guess. I don't know. I don't get into the psychology of it. But that's kind of the energy that I feel from this reading, where this orphan who was abandoned, right, in this moment where that love was pulled away, where that security of being was kind of snatched out from under um, the feet, right? Where the tables had turned in such a way that was very harsh, very cruel, and painted this orphan in a light that was unjust. Okay. And then there comes the moment of the apology, right? There comes this moment where the stepmother realizes, holy crap, this, she had caused an extreme punishment for me, right? From my father. And so there comes this moment of this quiet apology, right? Because now she has realized that the punishment was so extreme that it really caused a wound, and a wound that others would take note of. Okay. And so there's this apology that comes in almost from desperation because it didn't quite turn out the way she expected it to. It didn't turn out the way that I expected it to, right? And so this energy is kind of packed in to the underground of this reading, where someone has been abandoned or ostracized or had what they felt was love and security and purpose sort of taken or twisted in such a way that it was used against them, right? And then you have the sweet talker, the one that comes in and says, hey, I realized XYZ and I want to um, take you out for ice cream, right? Like, let's make this right. Let's come back to that relationship that existed before that moment of injustice. And as a child, it can be very easy to believe that apology. It can be very easy to say, oh, thank goodness, she doesn't hate me, right? Thank goodness he didn't mean to hurt me. It was just an accident. It was a misunderstanding. It was whatever the excuse, right? But there comes time and time and time again where the same energy is repeated. Okay, where again you begin to feel comfortable, you begin to feel secure, you start to realize your purpose again, and then again comes the judgment and the punishment, and then again the apology, right? So I feel like this is a situation where someone had in perhaps their youth gone through this looping of circumstances and experiences, maybe not with the same people, places, and things, but in life situations and experiences where they felt um, unseen, right? Unheard, where there were times when they tried to make a decision for themselves, but it didn't look, sound, feel um, the way those around them wanted it to. And so they were judged harshly. And this takes away our ability to make sound decisions for ourselves based on who we are, that being of light and love and compassion that we are inside. And at some point, this orphan, okay, was, say, driven within, where they withdrew that love and that compassion and that joy and that light of who they were for fear of judgment by those outside of them. And it was in this journey where they met the divine feminine, right? And the divine masculine, the divine within them, that brought about the nourishment, the nurturing nature that they had not received from anywhere else. They began to learn how to nurture and love and forgive and hold themselves in compassion. And this could be male or female, okay? And they learn to honor the divine feminine within them. They learn to see their inner beauty and to love every aspect of themselves that had not been loved by those outside of them. So this is an orphan who has gone through this journey of self-discovery, of healing themselves, of realizing that they had the power to heal themselves. And they have developed a faith in their abilities and stayed true to their path, right? To their truth. They have walked in integrity, right? Um, and have found this place of self reliance again, of purpose, of security to a degree now that it cannot be shaken. And so there is an inner peace, right? An inner peace that surpasses the understanding of those around them and those that they come into contact with. There is something about this orphan's nature now that has turned into a sort of goddess energy, one that is graceful, one that is true and honorable, that walks with integrity, right? And honor. And they have found and come into a flow where these self-healing practices and these self-discoveries, um, it's almost an easier flow. It's almost easier to surrender, right? Because it was done on such a deep level so long ago. that when we go into this cave of ourself and we spend so much time inside that cave, that we become that flow inwardly, where surrender is part of the process, right? It is often like what I'm feeling. Let me see. Like I see someone and they fall back into this river, right, on their back. They just kind of willingly fall back into the water, and they're floating on their back, and the water is just slowly and gently kind of washing over them, and they're going with a current. It's not a rapid current, but it feels freeing. I feel a sense of freedom in that, right? Um, and so this flow, even though there is surrender that is required, that surrender brings a sense of freedom, of liberation, of rejuvenation. I'm being reminded of how when I could finally walk and take a little longer ride in a car, um, I went to one of our childhood swimming holes, right? And it's in a river where the river kind of pulls up in between some rocks. And after I had gotten to where we could get back up in there, back in the day, you had to have a four-wheel drive. It's not necessarily that bad anymore, but it's still a bumpy ride. But I remember the first time that I went back after breaking my back and I entered that water and just feeling the gentle rolling of the currents against my back. It was healing. I felt like relief. There was no more, it was not my physical body holding me up. There was no impact from the movements of my legs and my arms, right? I was able to fully relax and allow the water to run over me, and it became very healing for me. And I feel like this orphan has entered or is entering into this flow, right? Where now that moment of surrender is an embrace. And there is a peace that comes over. And this peace is something that we carry within us, and it can often be like a beaming light in a dark night. Like if you ever see the lights atop a lighthouse, right? They're they stretch through the fogs. I mean, they're so bright that a ship passing in the night, in a foggy night, can see this beam glowing against the fog. And I feel like this orphan has become that light, that even when the fog of war, right, surrounds them, their light illuminates the fog. It can still be seen. And there are some who are lost in that fog that become attracted to that light, that place of peace, that place of freedom and liberation. And then we have the underlying energy. And this energy, I gave the name of Obraveris. Okay. And it's like I said, it's a totally made up name. So, and I do that because I want to take away any judgments or perceptions, right, that have been taught previously, right? If I called it the devil, we all have perceptions of what the devil is, right? If I called it a narcissist, we all have a perception of what a narcissist is, right? So in this reading, for this purpose, I'm calling it Obraveris. Okay. Now, Obraveris is a energy that turns it corrupts, right? It tries to corrupt the energy of this orphan that has healed, right? So the orphan now meets another energy that is trying to twist their energy into something that it is not. Okay. And it is this Obraveris energy is one that is based off of an extreme jealousy, extreme envy to the point of revenge, of being so angry of your innocence, of your truth, of your integrity, of your light, your peace, right? That it has created a disturbance within this Obraveris that wants to take out revenge, right? And that has tried to end that light, tried to distort it in such a way that even if perceived, those who would perceive you and make that their own, come to their own conclusion, their own perception of the light that they see within you, this Obraveris comes in and distorts it through their words, right? They say, oh, no, 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 no. She didn't try to touch that lace. She tried to pinch it and cause harm. Do you see the twist? Right? And so it's a very dishonest, very corrupt source. All right. One based on jealousy and envy, one that is very proud also. This is someone, okay, I have a handmade card, and this is a quote also from Kim Krantz' deck. And it says, when you think it is all about moving up, you are on the fool's path and may be missing the miner's magic. Well, this orphan has found the miner's magic. This orphan has found true value. And the card that quote comes from is the mountain. And it is all about how we can perceive success as reaching the top of the mountain. Whereas the miner knows that the true gem, the true value, is in the mountain. Okay? So this Oberveris is an energy that doesn't just corrupt the perception of the orphan's light, right? Out of jealousy and vengeance, but they believe that by doing so, it will boost them to the top of this mountain, kind of like a step. You know, they say when you're climbing the ladder to success, be careful of those you step on, right? It's like that kind of energy. All right. And the Oberveris has recognized the healing that this orphan has done. All right. And they recognize perhaps they haven't recognized to the degree of the healing that you've done. They know the healing is there because the orphan has reached that place of becoming that divine feminine, of becoming the healer, right? And it's like the Oberveris comes in to separate, to divide, to stop this healing because they know that time is ticking. They have to reach the top of this mountain before the orphan rises out of the flow of this river and stands as the goddess and the healer that they are. All right. And the reason being is because this orphan has developed stability and security, permanent, right? This is long lasting. This is a legacy that carries on through generation after generation after generation. And the only reason that even can be is because the healing that was done healed generational wounds, right? It healed those ancestral wounds. This orphan, by healing themselves, has released an entire lineage from a karmic cycle that held them back from finding true value, true stability, true security, true healing, peace, comfort, compassion, love, right? And they have reached a place of happiness, of expansion, of joy. The orphan now has healed that inner child, has freed that inner child. And so they now can experience a sense of joy and oneness and expansion that is sweet surrender. Because throughout it all, there are these ribbons of peace that hold it together. And this Oberveris knows if it can just disturb the peace of this orphan one more time, it will reach the top of the mountain. And perhaps even take this orphan's value, their gem, their healing, their creation. Now, Spirit is showing me here that we have a King of Cups, right? And like I said, this can be male or female because this orphan also tuned in, tapped in, and surrendered to the divine masculine. And by doing so, they have become someone who is trustworthy, someone who is honorable and devoted, someone that you can tell your darkest secret to, and it will never leave your lips. Because that orphan remembers the initial trauma that drove it within. They remember the compassion that was needed. They remember what it felt like. So this is someone who has come to a place where they have become a confidant for others. And they are seen as safe, non-judgmental. Perhaps someone who's charitable, who gives freely without expectation because we know the return will come. And then it doesn't always come from the source we gave it to. This is someone who has done a lot of inner healing, a lot for a long time. They're coming out as a King of Cups, someone who is tuned in to their intuition, to their inner knowing. And someone who has learned to fall in love with themselves, right? To fall in love with those pieces that were perhaps for a long time rejected or shunned or hidden or buried or abandoned, right? And someone who has learned how strong they are, who recognizes the path that they have walked to get to where they are. And Spirit is coming in. Your life is unfolding like a major motion picture, and it's a box hit. They just haven't tallied the tickets yet. The tickets are still being bought. It's a sold out show, I hear. And it's like perhaps all of this work because of the time that it has taken, it may have felt at times like it was not going to come in. Whatever your goal, whatever your intention, your dream, this creation that you have been nurturing within yourself, right? The seeds that you have been planting and watering and the ground that you have tilled, it may feel like it's been a long time. You may have even come to this place of peace and surrender within yourself where it's like, I can accept that it's not happening right now. And again, in this reading, like in so many others, I get that there's nothing, 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 and then bam, it all comes in. And there's nothing that can stop it. It is those seeds that we nurture for long periods of time, right? That grow to be the strongest. They last the longest. They bring in the greatest harvest. And Spirit is saying, don't give up now. Remember, you are strong. You are brave. You are beautiful. You are intelligent. And you are loved dearly, not by just the divine, but by many, and you may not see all. But there are those who hold you in love, who hold you in honor of the path that you have walked. You are the new paradigm unfolding in this lifetime. And not everyone is going to understand, let alone understand that. Especially this Oberveris. Because what the Oberveris does not see is the goddess. What the Oberveris does not see is that that orphan has risen into a goddess, into a divine being of light, and that it is your peace that holds together all the strands of your security, of your legacy, of your dreams, of your goals. And now this Oberveris is panicking. Because at some point, the orphan withdrew their light. Totally unexpected. The Oberveris thought they could come in and judge the orphan harshly one last time. Only now, when the Oberveris comes back to apologize, they're apologizing to a goddess. They're apologizing to a King of Cups. One who knows the light and the love and the gift within them. One who hears the voice of the divine that comes from within louder, more clearly than the voices from around them. And that brings an unexpected tower to this Oberveris. It's just not happening the way they thought it would or the way they thought it should. And so they're having to change their strategy. They're having to change the way that they come forward. Only from the reading that I have in front of me, this healer, this goddess, this King of Cups, they're in the flow. They're in the flow. And there is nothing that can disturb that flow. And anything that does sends a vibration. It sends a vibration through the ripples of the water. It's sensed right away. The dishonesty. And unbeknownst to the Oberveris, they have entered in to their own pattern of self-sabotage. And I feel that this is about to be the ultimate self-sabotage. Because I have happy days ahead. The sun is coming out. The fog is lifting. The fog that covers the eyes of those who see your light is lifting. And the wheel of fortune, the wheel of karma, of destiny is now turned. It's inevitable. It is a moment of divine intervention where fortunes rise and fall, where consequences become a real thing. And it can seem like blind justice coming in and balancing the scales, because that harsh judgment, that harsh punishment, that fake apology has happened one too many times. It is a point where the orphan has risen to a place where their presence becomes the message. It is someone who has gone and moved from seeking love to becoming love. Someone who shines a light on the illusion of ascension someone who lights the way into the mountain, because that's where the gems are. That's where the true value is. It's the wisdom that comes through the descent in the depths. It is the rooted wisdom, ancient wisdom that has always been there. Always been there. It is a place of resting, receiving, and reclaiming the gold beneath the striving. You light the way inward. You've entered what I call the slow roll, right? I often don't know quite how to explain this, but it is when everything around you seems to be speeding up. You got to go faster. You got to think faster. You got to do faster. You got to speak faster. You got to accomplish goals faster, faster, faster. Get to the top of that mountain faster. Devising ways and schemes and makeshift ladders to get to the top of the mountain when time spins so fast that this orphan says, I know another way into the mountain where the river flows softly, where the waters are healing. It is where the mind and the heart come together as twin flames almost in this inner temple. Where judgments become discernment. It's a place of moving from reaction to reflection. What is being reflected from within me? It's finding your frequency. And that frequency is calling in a sort of soul tribe, a star family. Those who have also gone within the mountain. Those who are also rising as the divine, as the healer, as the King of Cups, the one who is compassionate, the one who knows who he is and cannot be deceived because he's tuned in to the frequency of the river that flows within him. And if someone throws a rock into it, it's going to cause a vibration that ripples through the wave. And when he rises with honor and integrity that cannot be shaken, authentically, transparent, because he has healed the inner judge. This is a very powerful awakening. It is a very powerful transformation that has taken place in a collective. It is the rising of the orphan into the goddess, into the healer. It is one who has learned the art of anchoring, becoming the blessing. So, one who has learned the art of anchoring that light within, that love within, the truth within, the compassion, the forgiveness, the grace, the peace. And I feel that the divine, the ancestors, the angels, they are here. And they are honoring your walk as the bridge for the future. This is the new paradigm. It is not all about getting to the top of the mountain. It's like that quote, when you think it is all about moving up, you are on the fool's path. And you may be missing the miner's magic. I, for one, am looking forward to the magic that you have found and bring forth, in whatever way, shape, or form that may be. This is a time when that discernment is needed. It is holding what you know within in peace, allowing your presence to speak, allowing the unfolding. You don't have to go to this mountaintop and shout it out. Those who resonate are resonating with the light that glows from within you. And those who don't can't hear your words anyway. And even if they do, they're distorted. Know that the peace within you is what will speak the loudest, that will bring the greatest results. I made a comment to my husband the other day. You know, ever since we've been together, and it may sound like a short time for some, but over the last 6 years, I don't think there's a day that has gone by where we haven't looked at each other, at least in the evening, and said, my God, we have a beautiful life. We have a loving home. The love we share cannot be tainted. It cannot be severed. The home we have built, I can sit on my porch looking into a tree line that is just the most beautiful yard and home and tree line I have ever seen. And we are not millionaires by any stretch of the imagination, but we feel like it. We feel like millionaires because we've reached this place of peace, of healing, of love, of interconnectedness, of oneness, of unity. that surrender, that sweet surrender. And I made this comment to him that you could offer me all the money in the world, all the gold, all the jewels, all the riches, all the friends, all the fans, all the cars and the houses and the land. You could offer it all to me. But if the price was that I would have no more peace, I would turn it all down in an instant. The peace that we have is priceless. It surpasses all the riches and the glory of this world. And I have this message here from the unicorns. Rebirth, reinventing yourself, giving life to your dreams, and creating a new reality. This is what healing does, right? It transforms us from what we were into who we are. And then we carry that light, that love, that knowing, that compassion, that peace into the world, and we offer it freely. But we have learned not to offer it, so much so that it is at our own detriment. And so we have also learned to stand in the power and the knowing of who we are, so that when that Obervaris comes with his apology or her apology, scheming and strategizing of how can we stop this light from growing, we have the wherewithal, we have the discernment to stand, to speak, to be honorable, in integrity and truth and authenticity. I had a card just fall, two cards actually, says warning, snake, backstabber. It's gonna sound real sweet, but I have no doubt that as sweet as the Obervaris can sound, it will be bitter to the soul. And this King of Cups, this goddess, this healer, this orphan who is rising will recognize that. I don't know how long I've gone on. I really don't want to go on too much longer. I don't want to take too much more time. I want to congratulate you because this journey has brought this orphan to a place where they know unconditional love. And it may come through an uncommon bond, right? Perhaps with those you never expected. It is a love that is devoted, it is tender, it is timeless and constant. We are calling in our soul tribes. So many have felt alone, isolated, perhaps for a long time. But it is your peace that resonates, that lets them know who you are in the midst of all the chaos. It is your peace. Let's see if I can get some, let's see, our guardian angels, right? Our guardians, angels, and ancestors cards. See if we can get one more message, one lasting message. Wow. Be the light. It is at the bottom of the deck. It is being that light for those who are lost at sea, who are still in the fog of war. But the card that fell out is Peacekeeper. Peacekeeper. A harmonious resolution is possible. I feel like saying, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Let your light speak for you. Keep it simple. Don't over-explain it. Don't try to find multiple ways to say it. Because some aren't after your explanation. You're just another step up the mountain. I'm given a visual. It's like I see someone standing, putting their leg up on this orphan's head, right? To climb one more step up. Only the orphan disappears and the side of the mountain comes down. Don't be someone's doormat. That's what I get from that. I'm sorry. Peacekeeper. Let's read the book on this one. Peacekeeper. A harmonious resolution is possible. The message is to choose peace. Conflicts are coming to an end. You deserve to experience happiness and contentment. The Peacekeeper portrays a Lakota First Nations woman honoring the Lakota deity, White Buffalo Calf Woman, who brought the sacred pipe to the people. Maybe you are that pipe. The pipe which she holds in her hands is a symbol of peace, emblematic of surrendering the need to fight and offering harmony instead. The peacekeeper is a soul who knows what it's like to feel under threat and to stand up for what she believes in and what is right. Her medicine helps you to take the higher road in every situation, even if you're under pressure to make a quick decision. It is a reminder that within your hands lies the power to make the right choice for all involved. The extended message is you may be feeling on edge due to a a stressful situation. There's a warrior within you that wants to rise up, prove your point, and get the truth across. But you're being reminded by ancestor wisdom that truth will always be revealed in the end. It is more important at this time to avoid arguments or heated discussions where you know you will be fighting a losing battle. There is much more power in choosing to move forward from a higher perspective. This will allow you to connect deeply to the guidance within and the intuition that will lead you toward the healing of the whole situation, along with any wounds it may have inflicted on you. Choose peace. You know it is calling you. And remember, not everyone is interested in peace, and that is okay, because some are destined to fall like the tower. Some are destined, and perhaps that tower will take them within. And we hope that it does. And now I think I understand why I chose that little flower. It says, if you carry one thing with you today, let it be this. You are brave. You are beautiful. You are strong. You are smart. And you are loved deeply. And I will let it be at that. For those that are interested in joining our sacred space, it is small, it is quaint, it's over on Discord. I will drop the links in the description box below. And if you're interested in asking me any questions, I will drop my email in that description box as well. I want to thank you for being here today. It is always an honor. And I love you all. Peace.